Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Hezbollah says Israel will receive its punishment for deadly pager blast. No comments from Tel Aviv. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Cairo to push for Gaza ceasefire. Lufthansa and Air France suspend flights to Tel Aviv, Tehran and Beirut amid rising tensions. Jammu and Kashmir sees around 27% polling till 11 a.m. in the first assembly poll since 2014. In sports, in the 7th round of chess Olympiad, Indian men's team faced China while the women's team to take on Georgia. After 6 consecutive wins, India is eyeing its first ever gold medal in the tournament. And rapper Sean Diddy Combs jailed after pleading not guilty of sex trafficking charges. Death toll in Lebanon's pager blasts have claimed 9 lives, wounding several thousand people. Explosions of hundreds of pagers that were used by Hezbollah members rocked Beirut on Tuesday. Hezbollah pushes the blame on Israel while there has been no comment from Tel Aviv on this. The United States has denied any role and called for diplomatic solution to the conflict.
Unprecedented explosions of hundreds of pagers used by Hezbollah across Lebanon claimed at least 9 lives. Iran's ambassador to Lebanon was among 2,800 other people who were wounded by the simultaneous blasts. Hospitals in Lebanon are coping with the aftermath of the pager blasts as casualties and those injured begin to rise. At one hospital in Beirut's southern suburbs, people were treated in a car park on thin mattresses. The group blamed Israel for this criminal aggression and vowed just retribution. There was no immediate comment from the Israeli military on the wave of explosions. Meanwhile, the Pentagon has denied any US involvement in the pager blasts in Lebanon.
I can tell you, to my knowledge, there's no US involvement in this at all. Again, it's something that we're monitoring.
The denial by US comes as Washington once again called for a diplomatic solution to tensions between Israel and Lebanon.
It is in everyone's interest to resolve it quickly and diplomatically. So we continue to believe that there should be a diplomatic resolution to this, and so I will leave it there. And actually, I'll add, this is why the ceasefire negotiation is so important. This is why the hostage deal is so important. This is why the president and his administration has been working around the clock, 24 hours to get that done.
Israeli military has said that senior commanders have held a situational review with a focus on preparedness in both offense and defense in all spheres. Israeli analysts say that the unprecedented nature of a recent operation targeting Hezbollah showcases a new strategic approach.
I think the greatest achievement here is the confusion that it created among Hezbollah, the psychological damage among Hezbollah, and the fact that somebody can cause that much of a damage without even invading into Lebanon.
The pagers used by Hezbollah members came from Taiwan as per a news report of the New York Times, with explosives packed in sometime before they arrived in Lebanon. Taiwan's Gold Apollo has denied that it made these pagers.
None of the components in that product belong to us. Nothing was exported by us.
Meanwhile, as tensions rise in West Asia, Lufthansa and Air France have suspended flights to Tel Aviv, Tehran and Beirut until Thursday. Bureau Report, DD India.
All right, let's now tell you what is known so far about the pager blasts. Hezbollah terrorists began using pagers to evade tracking of their locations. Up your screens, we'll have more on this. The detonation started around 12:30 GMT in suburbs of Beirut. the stronghold of Hezbollah. Some of the detonators took place after the pagers rang. The blasts were relatively contained and appeared only to wound the person wearing the pager. Injuries were sustained on the faces, fingers and lower portion of the body where the pager was likely worn. Many speculate that the explosions were caused by the device's batteries detonating, possibly through overheating. Speculations are rife that Israel might have infiltrated the supply chain for Hezbollah's pagers. New York Times reported that Israel hid the explosive material within a new batch of the pagers before they were imported to Lebanon. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken landed in Cairo early on Wednesday on his 10th trip to the West Asia since the start of the conflict in Gaza nearly a year ago. Blinken will address negotiation efforts with Egyptian officials. He will also hold talks with Egyptian leadership to strengthen bilateral ties with Cairo. Egypt, alongside Qatar, has been a vital intermediary in the U.S.-led diplomacy to end the conflict, shutting proposals and counter-proposals between Hamas and Israel. Washington has also leaned on Cairo in its efforts to increase the flow of humanitarian aid to Gaza. The second assassination attempt on former U.S. President Donald Trump may add fuel to the fire of already heated election campaigns for November 5th election. While his supporters are coming out in open, reiterating their support, the Republicans are asking why assassination attempt only on Trump? Does it mean there might be much violation in the U.S. elections in the coming days? Here's a report by DD India's Akhilesh Suman.
Second assassination attempt on U.S. presidential candidate and former U.S. President Donald Trump has triggered a debate amongst the experts on the need to enhance the security ring around him. But it is now a matter of intense political debate too, with many Republicans raising uncomfortable questions about why only Trump has been on the radar of assassins and not the Democrat leaders. The Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance holds Democratic Party's provocative statements against Trump responsible for such attempts.
If you tell the American people that this person is the end of democracy, if you tell the American people that this person needs to be eliminated, most of them, thank God, are going to ignore you, but some crazy person is going to take matters into their own hands and actually listen to the crazy rhetoric that you're putting out there.
Vance issued a warning to Harris to tone down her voice to avoid further escalation.
Thank God nothing truly tragic has happened to Donald J. Trump's life, but we are very, very close to real problems in this country. Democrats have got to cut this crap out, respect their fellow Americans, debate our differences, don't try to censor your political opponents, because censorship will eventually lead to political violence. We've seen that now twice in the last couple of months, and I hope Democrats learn the lesson.
White House was quick to deny the accusations hurled by Team Trump.
I want to be very clear here. The president and the vice president have always forcefully condemned violence in all forms, including political violence, and we certainly have never encouraged any violence in any way.
On the other hand, the common American man is getting circumspect about violence becoming more and more pronounced in these elections and wants it to end.
Yeah, I'm concerned for everyone's safety on both sides. The country is so divided right now, and both political parties are so divisive. And I'm hoping that Donald Trump will bring this country back together, somewhere where we can unite around a common goal.
Trying to keep politics apart from such insane acts of violence, the Democratic presidential candidate and U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris has already tried to defuse the situation by calling the Republican candidate after the assassination attempt was foiled. U.S. President Joe Biden has also said that Americans must resolve their differences peacefully at the ballot box and not at the end of a gun. The assassination attempts were not successful, but nevertheless they have triggered a political slugfest that threatens to engulf this entire presidential campaign like none before. Akhilesh Suman's report for DD India.
North Korea fired a missile off its east coast on Wednesday, days after North Korea unveiled a uranium enrichment facility and vowed to beef up its nuclear arsenal. Japan's defense ministry said the North appears to have used a ballistic missile, and Japan's Coast Guard said that the missile was believed to have already landed in sea and urged vessels to watch out for falling objects. The South Korean military also confirmed the firing of multiple short-range ballistic missiles. It did not provide further details, including the exact number of missiles launched. The latest launch also comes days after the country, for the first time, showed images of centrifuges that produce fuel for its nuclear bombs, as leader Kim Jong-un visited a uranium enrichment facility and called for more weapons-grade material to boost the arsenal. Japan criticized North Korea after Pyongyang launched multiple short-range ballistic missiles for the second time in under a week. Deputy Chief Cabinet Secretary Hiroshi Moriya said the missiles had landed outside of Japan's territory and the country's exclusive economic zone. He said no damage to vessels or aircraft was reported.
There is currently no confirmation of any damage to aircraft or vessels traveling in the vicinity. North Korea's development of nuclear missiles is a threat to the peace and security of our country and the international community, and it is absolutely unacceptable. Regarding this launch, we have made a firm objection to North Korea through diplomatic channels in Beijing, and we strongly condemned it.
A Ukrainian drone attack sparked a fire and led to partial evacuations in the town of Toropets in Russia's Tver region, authorities said on Wednesday. Firefighters are working to contain the blaze, according to the regional governor. Toropets, a 1,000-year-old town northwest of Moscow with a population of over 11,000, is home to a Russian missile and ammunition storage facility. There were no immediate reports of casualties. Schools and kindergartens in the nearby district moved online. Russia's defense ministry reported destroying 54 Ukrainian drones overnight across 5 western regions, though no damage was reported. Rapper Sean Diddy has been jailed by Manhattan court in connection with a racketeering conspiracy and sex trafficking indictment. We have a detailed report.
Superstar rap mogul Sean Diddy pleaded not guilty on Tuesday to racketeering and sex trafficking charges and was ordered to remain in custody pending a trial. Combs was arrested by federal agents in New York on Monday evening and accused in a just unsealed 3-count criminal indictment alleging he sexually abused women and coerced them into drug-fueled sex parties using threats and violence. Along with racketeering, conspiracy and sex trafficking, Combs is charged with 1 count of transporting victims across state lines to engage in prostitution. The indictment alleges that for decades Combs abused, threatened and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation and conceal his conduct. It accused him of running a criminal enterprise that carried out sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery and obstruction of justice. Combs allegedly engaged in a persistent and pervasive pattern of verbal, emotional, physical and sexual abuse of women, the indictment said. The floodgates opened last year after singer Cassie alleged Combs subjected her to more than a decade of coercion by physical force and drugs, as well as a 2018 rape. The rapper's luxury homes in Miami and Los Angeles were raided by agents in March. Disturbing surveillance video emerged in May showing Combs physically assaulting his then-girlfriend Ventura, corroborating allegations she made in the now settled case. Bureau Report, DD India.
The African continent, especially its southern region, is witnessing the worst drought in 4 decades, with 68 million people without food and crops wiped out. Zimbabwe is planning to cull 200 elephants from across the country, and this is taking place for the first time since 1987. The aim is to feed communities in areas affected by the El Nino-induced drought. The cull will be taking place in Wonge, Mibara, Sholotcho and Chiredzi districts and comes close to neighboring Namibia's decision last month to cull 83 elephants and give meat to people impacted by the drought. The US Federal Reserve is all but certain to cut interest rates on Wednesday for the first time in more than 4 years, a significant move likely to ripple through global financial markets. Senior officials, including Fed Chair Jerome Powell, have in recent weeks indicated that a rate cut is coming this month as inflation eases towards the bank's long-term target of 2% and the labor market continues to cool. The decision will affect the rates at which commercial banks lend to consumers and businesses, affecting the cost of borrowing on everything from mortgages to credit cards. Traders and analysts remain uncertain about how sharply the Fed will lower its benchmark lending rate from the current 23-year high of between 5.25 and 5.5%. When the Fed cuts interest rates, commercial banks in the US generally follow, reducing borrowing costs and stimulating demand in the world's largest economy. For the Fed, a rate cut of any size would signal that consumer inflation, which hit a 4-decade high in 2022, was returning to target. Analysts overwhelmingly expect the Fed to announce it is cutting rates on Wednesday, though there is less clarity about what comes next. The Fed has a dual mandate from Congress to act independently to set monetary policy to ensure both stable prices and maximum sustainable employment. But if it announces a cut on Wednesday, the Biden-Harris White House is likely to claim it as proof that their economic agenda is working and that the long-running battle against inflation has been won. That could raise the spirits of US consumers who have consistently named the cost of living and inflation as top concerns ahead of November's election, in which former Republican President Trump is running against Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris. You're watching DD India Live. We're heading for a short break. But after the break, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will launch the NPS Vatsala Yojana today to provide strong financial foundation to all the children of the country. Bill Gates says malnutrition is vastly underfunded, praises India's effort to promote the cultivation of millets. Lord Ganesh given a heartfelt farewell as the 10-day Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations culminate.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live. Voting for the first phase of assembly elections in Jammu and Kashmir is underway. 26.72% voter turnout was recorded till 11 a.m. as per the Election Commission of India. Special polling stations are also being set up in the national capital, New Delhi, for Kashmiri migrant voters. Voting, which began at 7 a.m., will continue till 6 p.m. as per the IST. Also, this is the first election in the Union Territory after the abrogation of Article 370 of the Indian Constitution. More than 23 lakh voters are eligible to press the EVM button, determining the fate of 219 candidates spread across 7 districts. 24 of its total 90 constituencies are going to hustings in round 1 of the 3-phase assembly elections. All SOPs of Election Commission are being followed in the Union Territory. Arrangements have been made for webcasting at every polling station and cameras have been installed to monitor polling. This will be done from the control room. District Administration of Kulgam has set up an election control room to monitor the election process in the district. The assembly polls in Jammu and Kashmir are being held in 3 phases. The second phase will be held on September 25th and the third phase on 1st of October. Votes will be counted on 8th of October. Long queues and enthusiastic voters were seen all over the Union Territory, showcasing the spirit of democracy as voters lined up at polling stations to cast their vote.
Is going on in a free and fair manner because this is a foolproof election which is going to be held by the Chief Election Commission of India. I congratulate Chief Election Commission of India for conducting a free and fair election so far in Jammu and Kashmir, especially in this part of the world where the first phase of the election is going on. And so far as the security is concerned, I congratulate Home Minister Amit Shah ji and other Chief Election Commissioner for giving foolproof security to the citizen of this country and the voter of this constituency who are casting their vote free and fair without any coercion, without any undue influence or any militant threat.
I have been here to cast my vote. It's a matter of very great pleasure that after 10 years, the central government, after all, this was the demand of public that here we should form a democratic, this setup should be created here, and a assembly of people's choice should be formed here. So voting is going on here in this polling station.
All right, and now we get you the highlights marking the first phase of polling in Jammu and Kashmir. Up your screens, we have the details. A total of 219 candidates are testing their fate in total of 24 constituencies that go to polls today. We also have the male-female breakout, and also the 24 assembly constituencies are spread across 7 districts. Up your screens, we have the prominent contenders, the VIP candidates in Jammu and Kashmir. From PDP, we have Itija Mufti. She's the daughter of former Chief Minister and PDP Chief Mehbooba Mufti. We have the Central Committee member of CPIM, M.Y. Tarigami from CPIM. BJP has fielded Shagun Parihar. She's the niece of late BJP leader Anil Parihar. BJP has also fielded Sunil Sharma, former minister. Shaktiraj Parihar, former minister, is also contesting on a BJP seat in Doda West. When we talk of Congress, then former President of State Congress, Vikar Rasool Wani, is contesting from Banihal on a Congress seat. Congress has also fielded Ghulam Ahmad Mir, former President of State Congress from Duru. Pulwama will see an independent, Talat Majid Alai, contest. He is the former president of the banned organization, and also an independent from Devsar, Nazir Ahmed Bhatt, is in fact contesting from Devsar. So up your screens, we have the important breakout of the party and the candidates in the Jammu and Kashmir polls. 92 independents are contesting this time around in the first phase of polls that the Union Territory is witnessing today. And a quick look at the constituencies that go to polls in the first phase. 24 constituencies are witnessing polls, and we also had continued updates from our reporters from different parts of Jammu and Kashmir telling us that people have turned up in huge numbers and huge queues to exercise their franchise. The voting will continue till 6 p.m. in the evening. All right, on to other news. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is going to launch the NPS Vatsala scheme in New Delhi on Wednesday. NPS Vatsala is a financial investment that parents or guardians can make on behalf of their minor children with minimum contribution of 1,000 rupees per year and no limit on the maximum contribution. It will serve as a meaningful way to provide them with financial support until they start earning and investing on their own. NPS Vatsala events will be organized simultaneously at nearly 75 locations throughout the country. This scheme was announced in the Union Budget 2024-25. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting the United States of America from 21st to 23rd of September. During the visit, Prime Minister Modi will take part in the 4th Quad Leaders Summit in Wilmington, Delaware, which is being hosted by the US President Joe Biden on September 21st. At the Quad Summit, the leaders will review the progress achieved by the Quad over the last 1 year and set the agenda for the year ahead to assist the countries of the Indo-Pacific region in meeting their development goals and aspirations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the Summit of the Future at the United Nations General Assembly in New York on September 23rd. The theme of the summit is multilateral solutions for a better tomorrow. A large number of global leaders are expected to participate in the summit. On the sidelines of the summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi would be holding bilateral meetings with several world leaders and discuss issues of mutual interest. Billionaire Bill Gates has said that malnutrition is vastly underfunded and often ignored. In an interview given to the Hindustan Times, an Indian newspaper, Gates said that the issue of malnutrition has not been researched well and an understanding of malnourishment was only discovered in the last decade. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation released Goalkeepers Report, and it does so every September, that tracks the progress on the Sustainable Development Goals. This year, the report focused on malnutrition. Gates then praised India's effort to promote the cultivation of millets, underlining the fact that millets play a role in overall balanced, nutritious diet. He also highlighted efforts by India's leadership to raise the productivity of millets. Bill Gates also appreciated India's improved mortality rate. He said that once we hit the pandemic, some countries went backwards, although India continues to make progress on improving mortality rate. A quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India. As part of the Onam celebrations, young dancer Marina Antony brought Ganga to the stage at Regional Theatre of the Kerala Sangeet Natak Academy. Ganga was presented in a classical Bharatanatyam style with simplified gestures and expressions. This approach allowed even those unfamiliar with the intricacies of classical dance to enjoy and understand it easily. Indian citizens bid a grand farewell to Lord Ganesha as the 10-day Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations culminated on Tuesday. The highlight of Visarjan this year were the colourful processions which included DJs playing bhajans, drum and dhol beats and groups of dancers accompanied by a large number of devotees. All right, on to sports now. In chess Olympiad 2024, India dominate open and women's sections after 6 rounds in Budapest. Today, round 7 matches will be played. Another 5 rounds remain, but India is well placed to score a double and even to improve upon the bronze medal it won in both the sections of the previous edition of the Olympiad. Indian men's and women's team go into the round 7 of the 45th FIDE Chess Olympiad with sole lead. In round 6, it was Arjun Erigaisi who once again played a key role for the men's team, after D. Gokesh and R. Pragananda drew on the top 2 boards with Richard Rappard and Peter Lecco respectively. India needed a win on the 3rd board. Arjun duly gave his team that. India, the only team to have won all of its matches in the women's 45th FIDE Chess Olympiad, lead after Divya Deshmukh scored on board 3 to defeat Armenia. That proved the most valuable point of round 6 for her team. Without her win, India would not have won the match. That's it in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. You can download the respective QR codes. We will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.